Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fin Factor. I'm Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
This is episode number 244. I just wanted to make a quick note. Devereaux sat in for us last week. If you guys enjoy watching Devereaux, please check out last week's show because he was on there speaking with Aaron, sitting in for me because I was feeling sick, a little bit under the weather. I'm still just a little bit. That's why I got my cup of hot tea here working for me now. But Aaron, it's less a question of did you miss me, just how much?
Yes.
Yes. Fair enough. Funny thing, we were talking about this actually. It might actually be a short show tonight for these reasons, and the fact that we only had 2 games to talk about.
Yep.
And there's not a whole lot else going on with the Sharks right now.
No, not a whole lot to go over. So, some exciting news with Luca Cagnoni
getting
called up and Romanov getting his first start, which is pretty cool. Finally, I feel like it's been forever. He's been called up since the trade deadline, hasn't gotten any action at all. So, good to see that. But, going to be a short show.
I like that he's up here and he's stuck up here.
Yeah.
You can't go back to the AHL the way that the whole thing shakes out with the trade deadline. If you didn't know about that, by the way, if you're not on the AHL roster after the trade deadline, you can't go back down. So they called Georgi Romanov up.
You probably can go back, but you'd have to clear waivers or something.
Well,
right?
maybe. Yeah, there might be some weird.
But you're not eligible for the playoffs, more importantly, for Calder Cup
yeah.
playoffs. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so let's go ahead and just jump into the 2 games. A little bit light, right, this week. First game here was against Carolina Hurricanes. This one was a 3-1 loss for the Sharks. But honestly, I thought the Sharks played pretty well in this game. And again, Romanov gets a start here, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That was his first NHL start. So he's seen some action as a relief duty, but not as a starter. So this is his actual first NHL start. And I thought he looked pretty good. I was impressed. I wouldn't say he was an Askarov playing, but a solid performance by a guy for his very first NHL start. So good on him to make that work, because going back to his history, he was kind of scouted by the Sharks and brought across, if I remember correctly. A lot of other teams were kind of interested in him, but a lot of people didn't know about him so much. Almost like it was behind the Iron Curtain a little bit in Russia.
Okay.
Not quite as bad as it used to be in the 80s, but not a lot of scouting on him. But I remember Nabokov being very excited about this kid when they first got him to agree to come to the Sharks. So don't discount Nabokov's persuasion of bringing Russian players over, maybe especially Russian goaltenders, because Evgeny Nabokov played for the Russian national team back in the early 2000s. So he's very well known and very well respected in Russia. Not that he isn't here, but when you have a young and up-and-coming guy, it's almost like a Canadian going, oh yeah, Patrick Waugh is or Martin Brodeur is the goaltending coach. I absolutely would love to go work over there, right? It's kind of the same thing for the Russians.
Yeah. No, I think if you told me if I didn't know any better and you told me it was his first game in the NHL, I would have thought you were lying. I thought he looked great. He made a lot of really big stops. There was that one, it was just a little bit of a toe save there. He had his leg down and the shot came from the other side and he just stretched it out and just basically got a toe on it. Mm-hmm. And it was just a fantastic save. Again, not something that you would normally see from a guy who's playing his first NHL game, right?
Right.
So really acrobatic stuff. And if I recall, he's on the bigger side.
I was gonna say, I was just gonna look it up how tall he was.
He
was he's like 6 foot. He's gotta be 6 foot something.
I
remember seeing him. Sorry, I'm trying to type it in here.
Really disappointing.
Go ahead, take it over.
Okay, I'll take it over, I guess. The other one here was Luca Cagnoni getting his game in here, right? So for him to be able to get called up, he's manning the power play as well. I thought that was fantastic. The kid jumps in. They had him in practice already running the power play, rather, and just doing a fantastic job, doing what he does. And again, a smaller guy. Again, Peter St. John says he's 6'5", so yes, I was correct on that one. But not quite 6'5". Again, Luca Cagnoni at 5'9".
Yeah,
right.
That's my height.
He's 5'9", 100 nothing. Right.
That's what I would look like on the ice. If I could skate.
Yeah, I was gonna say he skates a little bit smoother than
yes,
you do. We've
absolutely.
seen that, but yeah, I loved seeing him jump in there. We'll go right back to Georgi Romanov though, because we just got the height on him. Was there anything else you wanted to say about him? He's a big boy.
I've seen him play when he was on the Barracuda, and he kind of impressed me. And this was probably 2 seasons ago now, and just his demeanor, calm and cool, even though at that time the Barracuda were not very good and he was getting shelled every night. Yeah. But I thought he looked solid and a good, reliable goalie who I feel like his future in the NHL, I wouldn't say, I mean, obviously Askarov is the future for the Sharks, but I could see Romanov being a solid backup option to him. Maybe not next season, but in the coming season. I think Askarov is going to need a veteran backup versus another rookie goaltender behind him. So I think his future could be an NHL backup goalie, which is a fantastic for an undrafted kid out of Russia. So good on him.
Sharks goaltending rite of passage. You have to get shelled.
Yes.
It seems like before you get an opportunity to play in the show with the Sharks. But yeah, again, good on him for stepping up. Back to Luka. Again, I was very impressed with his game. He comes in. He brings that little bit of offensive punch. Great skating. Great vision on the ice. The only knock on this kid is his size, right? So far, at least, that's been the only knock on him. But as you said in shows previous, he's shown up in every single league that he's played in, and he's proven everybody wrong. And so far, in the couple of games we got to see a little bit of a showcase from Luca Cagnoni, he's proven people wrong too, I think, at the NHL level.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons I was excited to see him get called up, because of that. His whole history of showing up and kind of proving people wrong. Everyone looks at him and go, he's 5'9", this little guy, and he plays defense. If he was a winger, that's one thing, but playing defense where you can get exposed more, especially at the higher levels, and you're getting even to the AHL level, and now we're talking NHL that he's up here, the guys are monsters, right, that you're defending, like Pasternak, that's a big dude that you're defending who's very highly skilled. Mm-hmm. So even if you could keep up with him, with the skill part, the size part is just going to dominate you. So you have to be really extraordinary to be a 5'9" wonder defenseman, right, in the league to stick in the league, which is what, I don't know if you read, but Shang always asks outside scouts what they think of Sharks prospects, and in this case was asking about Cagnoni. Same thing, they were impressed for how small he was and hoped that he could keep it up.
Yeah. And
I thought he played a pretty solid defensive game for a guy coming up as a rookie in both games. I think he had a better game than the second one. The first game, probably all nerves, right? Yeah. You got your family, you got your friends. It's your first NHL start. It's also a lot quicker. Like he even said in the post game, a year ago, right? He was just finishing up. Was he in juniors? I can't remember where he was before when he got drafted. But he got called up to the AHL this season, and it's just kind of gone by quick. And now he's in the NHL. Like, it's so fast. Like, he's a 4th round pick. He wasn't it wasn't a 1st or 2nd round pick. Usually you've seen 1st and 2nd round picks coming into the NHL now. He's a 4th round pick from 2 years ago. That is fantastic. Another fantastic return on one of Greer's draft picks, right? Another reason why there is a glut of talent that is up and coming into the Sharks team that there's just not going to be enough space. Yeah. Something's going to have to give eventually. And Greer kind of hinted at this a couple weeks ago at the trade deadline of we're going to have to move some of that draft capital and prospects. We're going to start losing players that we like to get veterans and bigger name guys coming in here.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the movie Clerks, where he says, "I'm not even supposed to be here," right? I mean, this is Luka. Like, he's got only a little bit of experience. He's undersized. He's underweight. Mm-hmm. He's not a guy that's going to push anybody out the front of the net, and yet here he is, right? So he's not even supposed to be here, especially as a 4th round guy. This is, maybe later on in his career he builds himself up to this, but this is what he's doing right now. So again, very promising. And I do love, by the way, we talk about offensive defensemen and what their job is, what their role is, and everything else. You said it yourself. I actually like some of the physical play that this little guy is doing out there, right? He's not letting the moniker of offensive defenseman and smaller person dictate the way that he plays the game. He plays the game hard. He plays the game physical. We're going to see it in the next game that we talk about. So not only does he do all the things that you want from an offensive defenseman, and he's running the first power play unit now as well, just out of nowhere. We're just going to throw him in there, and he's doing it, right? But he's also not afraid to get in there and do the physical things and do the hard work. And that's one of the things that I love about this guy. It's the same type of thing that I say about William Eklund, right? The things that William Eklund does well, again, not the biggest guy, but he's got that dog in him, right? I think that's the same with Luca Cagnoni, and I cannot wait to see where he goes from here. Now, anything else about this game? We had Eklund scoring a shorthanded goal, and I say scoring very lightly here.
I was shocked they called it a goal.
I was, but I wasn't, because he was tripped and sent into the net. It's not like he went barreling in. Right?
I get it.
For those of you who didn't see this, Brent Burns does the human Zamboni Brent Burns slide that we all know and have come to see him do all the time. Mm-hmm. And the stick gets caught up in Eklund's skates, and Eklund was going to toe drag that.
Yeah.
But the stick took his skate blade out. He went actually butt first into the goalie, into the post.
He went back first because he hit
his back. Right, yeah. So
it hurt.
I'm sure that one did. It's never a good thing to hit slam into the post at high speed, especially when you're out of control.
Yeah.
But he kind of knocks into the goaltender, and the puck slides in, and that's where we're saying, well, they're probably not going to call that. Goalie didn't have a chance. Well, no, actually, it's called a goal because the puck did go in before the net got dislodged. And the reason Eklund slid into the goal is because he was knocked into the goaltender because of Brent Burns' slide.
MJ just said I was at that game and everyone around me was so confused. Yeah, especially live, you're not going to see all the replays that you get at home, right? So you get probably 1 or 2 replays in the game.
That's why I say I love going to the game, but the best seat in the house is on my couch. I get to listen to Randy and Drew, and I get the replays.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was just a very interesting play, not one you're going to see all the time.
No.
So it was definitely kind of that weird one. MJ, I can understand how people will get confused. At first, it was a little confusing for me. God, you stop doing that. For the folks in the podcast, every time I do that or yelp really loud, it's because his super producer Jason is putting Vinny Desharnais up on the screen, and he is one bald, scary-looking person. Regardless, moving on from this one, I don't know. Oh, you see, this is the only fourth shorthanded goal of the season.
The entire season.
Yeah,
the Sharks have not scored a lot of shorthanded.
Not a lot going on there.
They're not in last place. They were tied for 19th overall, which it's not terrible, but it's not great. I think this is one thing I wanted to highlight because I think next season, depending on who else they bring in or who's coming up from the CUDA, but we're seeing Graf getting a lot of chances.
Oh, yeah.
He had chances in the Boston game, shorthanded, so I think next season we're going to see more than 4 goals. I'm going to say maybe closer to double that, almost close to double digits. The league leader, for reference, has the Rangers has 14 shorthanded goals right now, leading the league. So I don't think they'll be that prolific at scoring, but I think they're going to have more of a punch than 4 goals. So I think with the youth, the speed, some of the guys like Colin Graf, the really smart players, Eklund, again, we're going to see a little bit more of a scoring punch, I think, on the shorthanded side.
And, the scary thing about that, too, is that they don't even have Macklin playing on the PK, and it's just because they're managing minutes.
This year.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Next year, I maybe he'll dabble. It also depends on who's coming up and who can play those minutes. But I think at some point in his career, he will be playing on the PK. Maybe next season, maybe another season after that, because they're going to want... Again, he needs to get bigger. He needs to get a little bit stronger. More of durability reasons. Not so much he can't handle it. It's the durability of playing 82 games, and it's a grind when you're playing. I mean, Eklund does it, right? You're playing first power play, first penalty kill, all 5-on-5. Like, you're doing all the heavy lifting. That's Eklund's game right now. I definitely see Celebrini doing that. I mean, it took Eklund 3-4 seasons, right? This is 4 seasons.
Well, yeah, because he had time with the Barracuda. He had time back at
Sweden.
What's it called?
Garden.
Your garden.
Oh, I can't lie. It was a lot last.
Samsonite.
So yeah, I think again. He's gone through all that with AHL and everything else. He's built himself up to that. Same thing with Colin Graf. Colin Graf spent a lot of time building himself up to that. And got a lot of feedback from the coaching staff saying, hey, you're great offensively. We want you to work on the defensive side of the game. We want you to work on PK. Oh, man, we really like you on PK. Okay, now we want you to work on generating offense. And that was the last thing we talked to him about. And so now he's working on doing that as well. Colin Graf, to me, is coming together and is a very complete player. I'm super happy with where he's going, his trajectory.
Absolutely.
And when we talk about development and whatnot, you can see where he started and where he's at now. And there is a big difference in the way that he's playing the game now as opposed to when you first saw him, I think.
Yeah.
So very happy with where he's going. That one's going to be good. So the last thing about this game, though, is, and you had a note in here saying that the Canes basically showed why they're contenders.
Yeah, I mean, they play such a stifling game, right? Like, they're playing playoff hockey right now, and this is the reason why they go so deep in the playoffs. They have a team that just shuts down the other team. I know earlier in the season, they were leading the league in fewest shots against because they blocked so much. Oh, yeah. They just get so many. Like, how many shots did you see the Sharks normally throwing from the point that were just getting blocked? Mm-hmm. Like, and they would have 2 or 3 guys in a row in the line of sight or in the shooting lane, right, to block it. So if the first guy misses, the second one's going to get it. So they are definitely full defensive team. Now, this is one of the reasons Mikko Rantanen wanted out. I don't know if you knew this. So when Rantanen got traded from Colorado, he's a dynamic offensive player, goes into Carolina, and they're very structured and very, almost like, not Tortorella status, but like a similar kind of Tortorella, a whole buy-in of the team. Everybody's doing this work. And not to say that he didn't want to, but it really stifles his game. Yeah. And it's not what he is good at and what he would shine at. And I think there's an added pressure of being this big name guy getting traded to a team, a contender, and having to produce. And so that was one of the reasons he wanted out. Plus, he told, I don't know if it was the coach, I think it was the coach, either the coach or the GM, that I don't want to be here. This is one of the 4 teams that I wanted to get traded to. Dallas happened to be, and they ended up shipping him off to Dallas. But Dallas, you're seeing him thrive better in Dallas because Carolina, again, is just such a stifling team. They're kind of boring hockey. Yeah. They're good. They have good offensive players, but the way they play, it's just boring, right? Like that game, as soon as the Sharks fell behind, that's it. Lights out. Carolina's not going to give up those goals. Yeah. So it's one of those teams that is frustrating to watch or to play against because it gets so boring. In a good way for Carolina. They just want to bore you to death because they're just going to control the puck and all that. But it shows you what a hardworking team could be eventually, right? What the Sharks could be down the road. In probably 5-6 years, they could be a similar Carolina type team where they're just shutting down other teams and controlling the whole play and not letting any teams come back from any kind of deficit. So kind of for me, this is a look into the future of what the Sharks should want to attain to be, right? Yeah. That's the kind of game that Greer is trying to get them to get to, and a glimpse into the future of, and also another measuring bar. Like, if you could beat a Carolina Hurricanes team, you're going to be a good team. Right now, the Sharks are not that.
Yeah, and well, I have to say, for all the good things you said about Carolina, I was actually really impressed with the first half of the game for the Sharks. I thought they played extremely well. They were hanging with them, I thought, for the whole time. The bottom 6, particularly, looked pretty dangerous. There were times where you see Grundstrom out there, Goodrow out there, right? Ty Dellandry out there. They had their opportunities, and they really took it to them, I thought, in that first period specifically. So I was really happy to see the bottom 6 kind of getting the legs going, working the body, getting those dirty chances. A couple nice little plays, too, here and there. Actually, with Macklin, another one, too, was that he was coming across the slot, high slot, and he was looking off to his right, but then there was a backhanded pass that went left. And out of nowhere, there's Colin Graff, of all people, right? And Colin Graff just blasts us 1T, and he just barely got a blocker on it. Like, he came across, and you could see he just barely got the blocker on that thing. They had so many chances, I thought, where they were looking really good, and, Anderson, who was a goalie, makes a nice big save, or whatever the case was. Something happened, and it just stifled their opportunity there. But the Sharks looked dangerous. But to your credit, to your point, after they took the lead there, it was pretty much all Carolina. They stifled the Sharks. They shut everything down. They played their game for the rest of the game. It's too bad the Sharks couldn't carry that momentum from the first half of the game throughout the rest, because I'd love to see the way that kind of played out. But again, Carolina doing the job that they're supposed to be doing as a cup contending type team. Anything else you want to say about this game? Last thing here.
Last thing here is Brent Burns breaking Patrick Marleau's Ironman streak, which is nuts. So Patrick Marleau set it at 910 games straight played, and in this game specifically, Brent Burns beat it. So he got 911. Now he's at 912. But to put this into perspective, which is weird, both Patrick Marleau and Brent Burns have not missed a game in their 30s. Yeah, it's bizarre, right? Because they played all the way past 40, and they miss games in their 20s, but they don't miss games in their 30s. That is some weird stuff. You don't see that normally. It's usually the complete opposite of that. So good on Brent Burns. We know what he brings to the table, and his professionalism, how he keeps his body going, and what he needs to do, carrying those big giant duffel bags around of his meat and everything else for his body. Like, I don't know if I told you this story, but I saw him one time when he was on the Sharks way back when. At a store called Relax the Back. Nice. Yeah, it's off of San Carlos. He was getting stuff for his back, for his body, like, massagers and all kinds of stuff. And he was in there with his wife, and I was like, this is awesome. The store's dead, right? I'm in there with that. I know who that is, but I don't want to go up and talk to him and be nerdy and stuff. But that was probably 15 years ago at this point.
Wow.
So it was a long time ago when he first came on the Sharks. That's the first place he went to.
Yeah, he said, we know what he brings and how he takes care of his body and everything, and of course he brings his body sliding across the ice to knock over William Eklund. That's what he brought in this game. So there you go, Aaron. The last game of the week. It's only 2. Boston Bruins. Of course, they traded away their captain in Brad Marchand, so a little bit easier to deal with. In this game.
Less pests, I guess.
Yeah, not as many rats, right? Didn't have to call the Orkin Man or anybody else, to come the pest control going on. So, this one, a good game for the Sharks here. A 3-1 win. What do you want to say about this game right off the hop here?
Let's see. I thought the Sharks looked really good against Boston. I didn't realize this until after the game that Boston had a 14-game win streak over the Sharks going over 9 years or something. So good for the Sharks to finally beat the Bruins. And I thought, it still could have gone either way. It was a close game.
Sure.
The winning goal was in the last 3 minutes or so. So I just thought bouncing back after that Carolina game, I feel like that game was a little defeating in a way. But coming back and playing against an original 6 Boston team, who's still good. They're not terrible. I mean, they're definitely worse without Marchand, but I think they're still a good team. And the Sharks bouncing back and playing well against them and playing their game that they wanted to play and kind of dictating the play, having a lot of chances here.
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
I mean, for me, this one was Luca Cagnoni.
Yes.
We talked about him in the first game, but this one here, specifically on the goal, the Eklund goal.
Yes.
This one got me out of my seat. This is one of those ones where I got 2 kids and they play hockey. And every once in a while, something fantastic happens, right? And it's not the most flashy goal necessarily, but it's something it's the details. And in this play, Middlestad is taking the puck up the boards on the right-hand side, and Luca's right there. Again, 5'0", 100. Luca Cagnoni puts a body on Casey Middlestat, says, "Sit down, son. I'm going to take that puck." A little Happy Gilmore action there. Don't you ever touch my puck. That's my puck. So what does he do? He takes it, gets the puck to Eklund. Eki fires it across the ice over to Macklin, who sends it right back to him for the shot on goal, and it goes in. But again, it all starts with that hit on the 5'9" guy putting a body in the wall, not even just separating his butt on the ice. I love this. I absolutely love this. These are the types of plays that I'm talking about, Aaron. When I tell my kids, guys, I need you to be physical. It's not about the big hits, right? It's the stuff like this. The willingness to take your little body and put it into that guy and say, hey, you're not going to go any farther with this puck because you can't skate through me. And he puts him down, takes the puck, makes a play. We talk about secondary assists and how sometimes it's just kind of like, whatever, it's a secondary assist. You pass it to somebody who did the work. Not in this case. This is why I say you gotta watch the play. You can't just look at the points. You gotta watch the play. When you see this play, that secondary assist is worth more than the primary assist is. Why? Because he separates the guy from the puck and then makes a play. This is what you want from your young guys coming up. This is what I love seeing from the rookies coming in. It was a great night for young Sharks defensemen. We'll get to the other guy in a second here. But when you see that, along with Colin Graff, William Eklund, Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith, the future is bright. The future is teal. I'm telling you, I'm excited.
Looking at the score sheet, you'd think, it was Cagnoni passing to Celebrini and passing to Eklund like on a power play or some kind of setup, and you're like, then you watch the play and you're like, no, this kid made a terrific defensive play. It was a stand at the blue line, which I feel like the Sharks have not been doing very well as of late. They've been kind of backing off and letting them come in. So good on him to stand him up the blue line. Casey Middlestat, I just looked up, he's 6'1", so not like completely towering over him, but bigger.
Built.
Yeah, he's a big dude. Yeah. And he just completely put him in the boards and flattened him and made the right play. Made not just the play, but also got the puck and passed it up and passed it to Celebrini. So I thought this is what's going to keep him up in the NHL. Yes. Now, I know they're going to want to send him down, only because the Barracuda need him.
Of course.
And it's going to be more important for him to get meaningful minutes with the Barracuda. In fact, I wouldn't be too shocked if they'd sent him down this week. I guess they didn't, but I could have seen them do that because, again, the Sharks don't play until Thursday. Like, he probably could have got a game in with, I don't know their schedules. I didn't look at the Barracuda. They could be on the road. But Cagnoni, I would expect him maybe breaking into the roster next season full-time. I think depending on his camp and depending on other players camps. I think this kid could be maybe at this point next season. Again, we don't know who the free agents are coming in, so I'm going to spitball here, but I would think he can make at least the third pairing and maybe man the power play. If Dickinson's not making the team.
And that's just it. Yeah. See, now again, we go back to what do the Sharks need? And yes, I think defense is probably the one area where they could use a guy. Mm-hmm. But if you're... Dude. I'm more than happy with Vinny Desharnais, by the way. More than happy with him. But if defense is an area where we can use a guy, I still think we're looking at like B+ on D, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they're good. They're good. And the prospects that we have in the wings, they're good. So, yeah, adding a blue-chip prospect defenseman, of course, it'd be great. It'd be fantastic. You'd have somebody in all positions who's at that level, right? But I don't think that the Sharks don't have enough on defense to be decent when they ripen. Let's put it that way. When they mature a little bit more, when they get a little bit older, right? And I understand defense takes a little bit longer generally, but, dude, look at Luka right now. Mm-hmm. He just stepped up and made a hell of an NHL play, right? And then you got the other guy here, who's Lucas. I keep forgetting the first name. Lucas Carlson.
Yes.
Comes up, and he goes in and scores a goal. He pinches, gets a nice goal here, on top of the other play, which we'll talk about in just a second. Mm-hmm. But what did you think about the Lucas Carlson goal?
Good on him for pinching and being at the right place at the right time. You could see him kind of on the goal. I'm trying to remember how it happened. It was on the right side, and it kind of went to the goalie, and I think he made a save, and it bounced around in front and just happened to go to him. He was actually skating almost behind the net to get the puck that was going to get rimmed around. Then he stopped and went to the front of the net, and it was right there, and he backhanded in. And there's the Boston defender diving with his hands out like a soccer goalie, and you have the goalie. I forgot who was in net, but he was coming across as well, and they had the low portion covered, and because he chipped it on his backhand, it went up high, and thankfully went up high because it went in. But good on him to go to the scoring areas and be in that fat rebound area where exactly where the puck fell to him. So I thought it was a good heads-up play by him. Really good story of him, too, because he tore his ACL, I think, a year before. Wasn't even sure if he was going to be playing hockey ever again, and here he is getting called up to the NHL. That game, right? I don't think he played the game before, and scores a goal
he didn't.
And gets an assist on the empty netter, too.
Yeah,
so he ended up with 2 points.
So the assist, again, this is one of those secondary assists where you go, he did work, but he didn't set anything up, right?
Ben and Gunstreet's calling you out and says, it's mad when it's Lane Hudson's secondary
Of course
assist.
it is. Of course it is. Hey, Ben, you know why? Because I'm not watching all of Lane Hudson's games, and I'm only assuming that he's handing the puck off to better teammates.
It's true. This is a Shark show, not a Canadian show. Ben. We don't speak French.
I mean, just absolutely freaking embarrassing.
So, if you show me more of Lane Hudson's secondary assists where he's actually doing something to lead to the goal, not doing something fancy, giving it to someone else, and then letting that guy do whatever it is that leads to the goal, then fine. But up until then, I'm going to assume every single one of those is him just handing the puck off and everybody else doing all the work. Why? Because as Aaron said, Shark Show. There you go. Because of Vinny Desharnais. Thank you.
A guy in his dogs was saying that power play needs practice. He needs to stay up with the boys, get the timing down. I absolutely agree. I think because he just newly called up, right? He does need that time, and they have time for practice this week because, again, they don't have a game until Thursday. Yeah. So they're going to get some good practice time in. I wouldn't be surprised if that power play looks a lot sharper going into that Thursday game.
Ben says he's totally on board. Okay, good. We're all friends again. This one here, by the way, the Lucas Carlson, he blocked the shot. That was big for me. He gets in the way, takes a puck. This is say what you want, but I like Mario Ferraro, and this is, I think, something that is influenced by a guy like Mario Ferraro. I think other guys see him blocking shots, and it encourages them to do the same. Not that Carlson wouldn't have if Ferraro wasn't there, but all I'm saying is I think that this is part of the reason why maybe Ferraro's price might have been higher, and he didn't get moved the trade deadline. I'm sure they had offers for him, but it's just not what Greer was willing to do to let this guy go. You got a whole nother year of Mario Ferraro. Yeah. No, he doesn't really chip in offensively, fine. But he does his job out there, and he does it well. He
also the locker room.
Exactly.
There's off-ice stuff that goes along with it. Yeah.
So there's body-on-body stuff that he's doing all the time. He's not afraid to go out there and bang, right? He's not afraid to block a shot. Doesn't matter who's unloading it. And yes, of course, he's one of those guys in the locker room that helps out a lot. And for a season where, who cares, keeping him around, especially because he's got another year in his contract, makes a whole lot of sense. Unless it's a gigantic overpay, and obviously the Sharks didn't get that. But I just wanted to say that I think that a guy like Mario Ferraro helps the guys like Lucas. I keep wanting to say Linus. Lucas Carlson.
His blanket?
Huh?
Oh, you know, I'm gonna lie, it was, you know, a lot.
There was a Linus Carlson too, but I think it was a K Carlson, like Eric. Anyway, regardless.
And a Melker.
There's too many Carlsons.
And an Eric.
And well, we already said Eric. No, who's the other one? John Carlson. No, Washington.
John Carlson.
There you go. Yeah,
Washington.
There's a lot of Carlsons. More you know. There it is. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Carlsons and the Carlson factor.
I thought we were talking about
But
Carlson.
no, we'll talk about this one. But yes, again, great job getting in front of the block shot. And then how about the effort from William Eklund, right? Again, we talk about being physical, playing the game physically. This is one of those instances. He had the puck. He's got a guy screaming down to try to bump him, and he's fighting his way through that. That's being physical in hockey, right? It's not just about body checking. It's about you've got the puck on your stick and you're willing to get knocked by somebody, try to maintain that puck as best you can, and William Eklund's capable. He does those things. And then, of course, he finds Barclay Goodrow, who puts one in for the empty netter to make it 3-1, Sharks over Boston. A great complete game. I thought it was a great game for the young defensemen. They got their points. They showcased what they can do. And then you've got all the other young players, making a game of it and, of course, winning it. So what are you laughing about?
I'm laughing at Brad Carr. He said, I was forced Habs fan as a kid, so I take no greater joy mocking the Montreal Canadiens and all of the players, even though I'm French Canadian who can't speak French to save my life. How did you become a Sharks fan? That's what I want to know. Was it Vlasic? Did that pull you in? Let me know in the comments.
As long as you're asking the fans questions, why don't you just go ahead and do the roll call?
All right, roll call. Tell us what city you're watching from, and if you like what Cagnoni is bringing to the Sharks.
I like what Cagnoni's bringing.
With Wallman gone,
yes,
you needed somebody. The Sharks needed somebody to man the power play.
Yeah.
They ran for a brief time 5 forwards, and what happened? They gave up a shoulder. So I don't think running 5 forwards is the way to go. I just don't think it's smart. Even just having Cagnoni, who's not even known for his defensive prowess, being there on the back end, who could skate and get back and just in case, I think it just helps a lot. So I like that they brought him up, and I think it was time. He needed to be rewarded, I feel like, because he was having a hell of a season in the Barracuda, or still is. So I think it's not that big deal. Brad Carr, Joe Thornton, by the way, is what brought him to be a Sharks fan.
Oh, yeah. That'll do it.
Superstar power.
That will do it.
How many new fans, because of Celebrini, are being created right now?
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Across the entire, not even just this country, across, I guess, the globe, North America. But, yeah, there's going to be a lot more Sharks fans that are up and coming because of Celebrini, maybe even because of Will Smith and those two dynamic duo and their craziness, which we'll get into in a minute.
Oh, yeah, the jersey thing.
Yeah.
I did want to say with Wallman.
Yes.
You talked about Wallman. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people were not happy with the Zetterlund trade, and I think a lot of people were also not happy with the Wallman trade, right? They liked what he brought. He was kind of on the younger end. You could still bring him back next season, offer him some money, and he'll stay around. He was doing a great job on the power play. He was doing a great job 5-on-5, making everybody better around him, right? So I think a lot of people didn't like that trade either. But I think this is what Greer was talking about. We like what we've got in the cupboards. We're okay moving on from these guys right now because we're confident that the guys that we have that are prospects are going to be able to step in and do these roles. And I think Luca Cagnoni could possibly be that guy that can step in and do the job that Jake Wallman was doing, maybe not right away, as you said, maybe in a couple of years. But I think that's what he's looking at. He's looking at, what do we have? Do we have some redundancies with the guys that we're okay to let go, that we can get some assets back and make something of those assets, even if it's not taking the pick and using it, if it's part of a trade. As you said, he's taking some of the picks and prospects now, thinking about being able to move those for right now players in the very near future. And the guys like, again, Zetterlund. We talked about the guys that are coming up.
Right.
Igor Chernyshov is wrecking it right now. He's doing a great job there, right? The other one whose name eludes me, Musty, right? How do you forget about Quentin Musty, right? That's how deep I think that this team is in terms of the prospect pool that they have on the wing. And so we look at the guys like Zetterlund that ended up moving on, and you think, well, gosh, he could have been part of the future here. Yes, but he also brings something back, and we've got guys that Greer thinks can step in and take those roles. And again, for me, Luca Cagnoni being the guy that could replace Wallman here as well. So
I think Zetterlund was replaceable because of Graf.
Sure.
Colin Graf's ascendance. I keep talking about this every week, but I think that really made Greer go, I think we'll be okay if we traded this guy, because there's obviously Ottawa really wanted Zetterlund and they went after him. It wasn't like Greer was trying to shop or trade him around. They kept bugging him about him, so he's finally like, you know what? I think Colin Graf is ready.
Yeah.
I think he brings a little bit more to the table. He has a little bit more tools in his tool chest, so more than Zetterlund did. So it made Zetterlund expendable, unfortunately, because I really like the kid, and I think his game is amazing and his goal scoring is great. I just wish Ottawa would be able to learn how to use him correctly, because right now I don't think the coach likes him, because he's on the fourth line getting like 8 minutes a night, where he was getting 13 or 14 with the Sharks before that. So it's unfortunate to see the decline of Zetterlund in Ottawa. It sucks, because I think they're just not utilizing him correctly. He could be doing so much more. But that's just how it happens in the NHL, right? Maybe we just overthought Zetterlund and thought he was better than he is. Who knows? But at least we've seen it in the Sharks. He was a 25-ish goal scorer every year, and he was doing it again this season. So, but we'll see what Colin Graf can bring, because he's going to be a penalty-killing specialist who can also be on the second power play unit and has a lot of offensive punch, and he's pretty much, I think he's playing on the second line right now with
Wenberg and Toffoli, I think was his line mates there. Yeah.
So again, we're gonna this roster is gonna be so different, even again by next season. So we're gonna see a lot of these younger guys slowly getting integrated into the team. We're gonna see a lot more at the end of this season of guys kind of getting cups of coffee like Luca Cagnoni right now, who will probably get sent back down to the Barracuda to play in the Calder Cup. But it's an exciting time. This is probably one of my favorite times when the Sharks have such terrible seasons and they're not going to make playoffs. At least we get to see kind of the future of these young kids once their other seasons finish and they're eligible to play, especially like Dickinson and Musty and stuff. We'll probably see Musty sooner than later, because this team's not as strong as Dickinson. Dickinson might go too far into the playoffs, so they won't be able to play on the Barracuda or the Sharks. So maybe the Barracuda playoffs. I'm not sure what the rules are for that. But exciting time, because we'll get a better look at them playing in a better competition than what they are currently in.
Yeah, for sure. No, looking forward to that. I can't wait to see those guys, all the prospects that we've been talking about. I want to see them in action at the AHL level, or even if they get a chance to come up and play with the Sharks. Certainly, I think some of them can add things right now. So yeah, again, really good times. If you're not a Sharks fan yet, jump on the bandwagon. There's plenty of room.
It's the perfect time. Jump on right now. So you get to know all the young names and faces and stuff, and you're going to be like, oh, I remember when they first got called up. And they're going to be on the team for a long time.
Absolutely. Any comments that you wanted to call out from the roll call here?
Yeah. Well, Ben's in Thailand. He said, small sample for me, but it looks like Cagnoni belongs. Brian Carr's in Peterborough, Ontario. I love Cagnoni. I think he'll be a nice addition to the future Sharks team. Guy and his dog said Cags will bring a bit of flair, and that with hard work and achieve what you want attitude. And he's in Roseville. And Brian Carr also just saw Musty over a week ago. He got hurt, but he did score a goal. So yeah, guy and his dog Smith, Musty, Lund line next year. That could be a very skilled and pest line in a way. I love what Musty brings to that game. I'm hoping he can crack the roster. I'm not sure he's going to be able to. He might need some time with the Barracuda before he actually gets called up to the Sharks, or he might be He might be that player that gets bounced back and forth. Like he's here for a couple weeks and goes back down for a couple weeks. So exciting to see what he brings. Chernyshov too. I'm really excited to see what that guy can do at the NHL level, because I'm pretty sure he'll tear up the AHL level just as well.
I haven't seen enough of him, but I've seen a couple highlights here and there, and he had one pass. He cut all the way across the high slot on the right-hand side and then ripped this pass all the way back across to the left, and it was like a passing lane that was like this, and he just, well, for you guys it's like that passing lane, and just right through that passing lane, sticks and bodies, and just went right through it and found his teammate, whoever it was, for a one-timer goal. A guy like that, vision, good passing, but I mean he seems to be able to just offensively gifted all around there. So yeah, another guy that you can bring in. Again, one of the reasons I think you say Colin Graf, again, one of the reasons I think a guy like Zetterlund was a little bit expendable, right?
Right.
You've got guys that can work in your middle six or on your top 6 in some cases here. And it probably won't take them too long to really acclimate, with all the other younger guys. They're all going to get along together, I'm sure. So it's just going to be one giant frat party of hockey, right? I mean, really.
What's crazy is the cupboard is kind of getting full for the Sharks prospects, and it's only going to get stuffed with more.
Right.
This upcoming draft, the Sharks have 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
2 second-round picks, a third-round, and 2 fourth-round picks. Now, remember, Cagnoni was picked in the 4th. So they're still decent.
Yeah.
In a good draft here, there's going to be some decent players. This year might not be as good. But you're looking at probably bottom 6 or bottom pairing guys getting picked around that 3rd, 4th round, and the Sharks have a lot of picks. And the following season, following draft in 2026, another 2 first-round picks, another 2 second-round picks. Second-round picks have a high chance, not as obviously not as good as the first round, but a high chance of being NHL caliber players.
Sure.
That is a lot of talent that is getting injected still into this organization. So again, going back to what Greer had said, some of those will probably get moved because they just can't physically have that many guys in their prospect pool because you can only sign so many guys to contracts.
Or your AHL team is ridiculous and you trim a lot of fat off of the Barracuda.
Yes.
So
that's probably what we're going to see by each coming seasons because you're seeing now Musty and Chernishoff and those guys. Maybe they don't quite make the NHL next season. They don't make the Sharks team, and they're going to be a very good AHL addition.
Yeah, because remember, you still got to spend $40 million, right?
Right.
So you got to spend money, and you're not going to spend that on ELCs, right? A whole bunch of entry-level contracts ain't going to get you there.
And you'd want to spread those out anyway, right? So if, let's say, Chernishoff isn't quite ready for the NHL, wait another year, and then that will slide his contract. If he doesn't play more than 9 games, then his contract doesn't start. Then you're not dealing with Musty, Celebrini, Smith, Chernishoff, all those guys going up for contracts at the same year, right? You can kind of spread them out, play the long game where some of these guys get extensions at certain points and different times, and so that way it keeps the future hopeful dynasty together longer because you're going to have better cap management, which I think the last regime of Doug Wilson did not do a very good job of doing cap management. I don't think it wasn't quite his forte. I think he was more of a loyalty kind of guy than a overall kind of picture guy. And I think Mike Grier is very opposite of that, and I think you have to be at this point in order to run a true kind of dynasty and keep things. I mean, look at the Tampa Bay Lightning. How long have they been going strong and winning cups, or at least being very competitive, getting to the finals? They are very good at it, and obviously the circumnavigation of the cap with Kucherov going on IR, right? That's a part of it, but it's nothing illegal. They're doing it correctly. They're doing it legally. It might not be ethically. but
there you go.
It doesn't matter. Like, they won a cup.
Yeah.
So they figured it out and they're playing the game. So you got to have, people playing chess, not checkers. So you need to have those kinds of guys. And I think that's what Mike Grier is doing. He's a guy that's playing chess. And he is surrounding himself with smart people. So he might not know all the answers, but he has a lot of help in order to has a good team that will get him those answers.
I want to call out something CJ said here. He said, it's great to see Paul off his 1-week suspension. Paul, you got to be more careful. A repeat offender. How dare you, sir? I'm dealing with an upper body injury right now as we speak.
I don't want to hear about freaking fragile, okay?
What, do I just set him up or what? Right? Good to be back, CJ. Happy to be sitting back in the chair and doing it. Again, if you enjoy watching Devereaux, watch last week's episode. He was here on the show. But you guys are stuck with me for today, so there you go. Aaron, a bet is a bet.
It is.
Yes, it is. So we have the Beanpot bet between Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith. Why don't you go ahead and take this one away?
Let's explain what the Beanpot is first. So Celebrini went to Boston. Celebrini went to Boston University, correct?
Yes.
I always mess this up. He went to Boston University. Will Smith went to Boston College. So they're rivals. They're big-time rivals. Now, the Beanpot is a tournament between 4 Boston teams. It's Boston University, Boston College, Harvard University, and Northeastern University. So in the final, so they played each other. They played in a little tournament. This is kind of the end of the season tournament before they go into the NCAA tournament. And this is for the finals for their league, I guess, their division league. So they play each other every year, and it's a big thing. And so they had a side bet, of course, and whoever won had to wear the other team's jersey.
Right.
So earlier this season, Celebrini had to wear Will Smith's jersey, right?
Yes.
His college jersey. So now it flipped this time around. But the Beanpot tournament was in February, end of February or early March, but they were on the road and they couldn't get to the jersey. So now that they're home, finally, Will Smith had to show up in Celebrini's jersey. We got a picture of it right here.
There you go.
This is so on the left is the first one. The first one when Will Smith's Eagles, Boston College Eagles, beat the Boston University I forget what
Terriers.
they are, Terriers, and so that was the first time. So then revenge is served on the sweet dish here. So that was in January. This is the first time in January. The second one happened in March 22nd. They finally got to reverse the roles. So he walked into the game in a suit with the Boston University Celebrini jersey on. So, and Celebrini had said that Will Smith said it was a better jersey. He did not say that, but he said that he did. He was just kind of...
Nice.
It's just fun. Like, to me, seeing those two coming up together. Yeah. Again, sad Bedard, right?
Yes.
He is taking game misconducts. He's very frustrated. He has no help.
There's a 10-minute misconducts. It's not a game.
Right.
Okay.
But there's a lot of questions that in our chat about this. A lot of it about losing, right? You're constantly losing. You're losing.
Yeah.
Like, does it screw up their development?
Yeah.
I think the Sharks have done a fantastic job surrounding these players with help. A lot of help. You have Will Smith is living with Patrick Marleau. You have Celebrini living with Joe Thornton. That is a big help. Just that alone right there is a big help. Having them together, a big help because they're jokesters, right? They're having fun. They have to remember, and everyone keeps telling this, because Shane keeps asking all the players that are coming around. Taylor Hall was the recent one. You were first overall pick. What was it like? What if you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself? Like, what kind of things did you learn? And almost everyone, Sidney Crosby was that same thing. They said, just enjoy it. It goes by so fast. Enjoy it. And what are these guys doing? They're enjoying it.
Yeah.
They're having such a great time. They're doing videos of replays of basketball stuff. I don't know if you saw they made that one a long time ago, LeBron. They made another
one or whatever.
But they did another one
okay.
recently. So they're just having fun. They're doing cool stuff, different things. And to me, it's showing. Excuse me. It's showing on the ice. Look at Will Smith's game ever since the break. I think he has really upped his game. He's playing better defensively. He's winning battles off of the boards. Whatever. We're not going to get into this right now.
Please don't.
It's just, again, sad Bedard, right?
Yes.
It is drastically different in what's going on in Chicago versus what's going on here. Look at Buffalo. The constant rebuild in Buffalo. Those players are sad and want to get out of there. First of all, it's Buffalo. It is probably one of the worst places other than Winnipeg for the winter.
Say Winnipeg, yeah.
Winnipeg is probably the worst.
It's got to be.
Brutal winters.
No Wi-Fi.
No Wi-Fi. Yeah, just nothing to do. So the Sharks are in a good spot. I think Greer really surrounded all of the players with... There's way more player development than they've ever had, ever in their history. So there's just other former NHL players that are on the staff to help. And they're constantly checking in. This is something that Greer had said when he first came on, that he has these player development guys constantly checking in, not just by phone, but like physically flying out and visiting them on their teams, making sure they're okay, making sure they're doing what they need to do, constantly checking in on them. So you don't get a situation where it's like Cutter Gauthier in Philadelphia, right? Where he's just like, I don't like what's going on in Philly. Get me out. Which is just, for a high draft pick, that would be like Dickinson saying, I don't like what the Sharks are doing. Trade me now.
Yeah.
That's the exact same situation, about the same draft pick. That would be like, whoa, what is going on? Like, why did we not do... The Sharks are not there. So, rant over.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, I think you nailed it. I think it's, again, they're doing a good job of keeping everybody happy in a time where you should not be happy, right? The Sharks being worst in the league, right?
Got beat off walls.
Beat off walls, right? No, the Sharks being the worst in the league, they should be a lot less happiness off the rink than there is, right? And it's the young guys having a good time, enjoying their first season at the NHL level and doing the most they can with what they've got, right? There are certain things that you said that I completely disagree with. We won't go there. But there are a lot of things that he said that, yes, absolutely 100%. The way that they're handling the kids, I think, this year They're doing it right. And it's just one of those things we always talk about with guys that leave the Sharks or guys that get brought into the Sharks. And they always say, you know what? They treated me right. And I think it was Brent Burns had come in and I can't remember the forward. Setaguchi. I think Setaguchi was on the bike still. And they're like, he was like, wow, that's pretty sweet that you allow him, because he got traded already. It's pretty sweet that you allow him to be on the bike in your route, because he's not a part of your organization anymore. It's like, yeah, but we treat our people right. He's not one of our guys anymore, but he's still one of our guys, you know, whether on paper or not.
Right.
They treat him the right way, is my point. And so I think the Sharks, as an organization, continue that this season with the young guys. Again, like you said, checking in on them, giving them the mentorship that they need with Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau being the billets for these guys, if you will, right? So I think, again, they're doing things the right way in terms of how they're handling their rookies and whatnot. So, again, I love the organization. I love what they're doing. I love where it's going. And I think, yes, come free agency, there are going to be guys who are going to make that call and say, you know, the Sharks are interested and they're giving me this offer. What do you think, guy who used to play for the Sharks?
Which happens a lot.
Yes, all the time.
You see a lot of guys asking Brent Burns for one,
yes.
right? And Pavelski back in the day, like, hey, I just got traded, or I'm thinking about signing this team in free agency. What do you think about it? And they give them all kinds of stuff, right?
You know, they're a trash team and they're at the bottom of the heap, but man, they treat their people well.
Yeah.
And wait until you see how good these guys that are coming up are going to be. I'm telling you, you're going to want to jump on this bandwagon right now. And then they sign their 3 or 4 year deal or whatever it is.
Look
at Toffoli, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited for. I said at the beginning of the season, I'm excited for the end of the season.
Yeah.
Right. So. Anyway, Cutter Gautier, there you go, CJ. I know you were looking for it there, but I almost stopped at Safeway to buy a baguette because I had a feeling I was going to say it, and even if I didn't, Vinny Desharnais is close enough.
Get a cigarette.
Get a cigarette? Yeah, I don't smoke. So, anyway, there you go. That's the whole bet. Anything else you want to say about the bet, by chance?
No, just how fun it was.
They're having a good time.
And they're having a great time. Yeah. They're losing season, the worst season they've ever had in their careers ever. And they're still having fun.
Yeah.
They're still having fun.
And speaking of rookies having a good time and doing good things, I think it's time
for the Calder Watch. Calder Watch.
Obviously, having some issues with the graphics on the Calder Watch. We'll get that nailed down, I think, maybe next week. Who knows? No promises. Aaron, Calder Watch. Fire away.
Calder Watch 2025. We have in first place still defense boy out of Montreal, Lane Hudson. I forgot he was actually a teammate of Celebrini last year.
Yes, he was.
69 games played. He's got 5 goals, 48 assists for 53 points, a -11. And of those 48 assists, more than half are secondary.
And obviously, they didn't come off of him bumping somebody off the puck, stealing it, and making a beautiful play. I'm just saying, okay?
Right.
I'm just saying.
All right. And right on his heels, 1 point behind now is our boy, Mac Attack Celebrini. 58 games played. He's got 21 goals, 31 assists for 52 points. A sparkling -27. I'm sure they'll be better next year. And he is... Oh, I always like doing this. The face-offs. Let me look at the face-offs. Oh, this is good.
Can I just say also, by the way,
yes,
how much a better balance it is of goals to assists for Macklin than it is for Lane Hudson. Right. I'm just saying.
5 goals, 48 assists. He's not going to get to 10. He
constantly handing the puck to people doing the work for him.
Here,
I don't care what you say.
It's probably he's about to get destroyed on the puck, and so he goes, "Here, take it. I don't want to get hit." Yeah. He's at going back to Celebrini, 47.7% of the faceoff. Not great. I mean, that's actually great for a rookie. He's below 50%.
Better than Lane Hudson.
Better than Lane Hudson, who still has not won a faceoff.
Again, why are we even talking about this guy?
I don't know. But Macklin Celebrini, 19 minutes and 47 seconds his time on ice per game. That's pretty good. So now, going to third place out of Philadelphia, Matvei Michkov, 70 games played, 20 goals, 30 assists for 50 points. He is he's pointless, I think, in his last. I had these open earlier. Let's see. In his last 5 games, he's got 3 points in his last 5 games. So was that today, March 23rd? He did. He had two assists tonight. So jumping up, back in action. 2 points behind Celebrini. And behind Michkov, no graphic, but Will Smith, 13 goals, 23 assists. He's pulling a little bit away from your boy.
Cutter Gautier. He's 34 points there.
34 points. And then I have my boy, Logan Stanko, but now in Carolina because he got traded from Dallas as part of the Mikko Rantanen trade.
Yes.
Couldn't think of his name. Okay, going more importantly, the points per game.
And I think we're rating this all wrong, by the way. We should be going points per game.
Points per game, I'll do that. Lane Hudson, 0.77. Celebrini, 0.9. Michkov, 0.71. Mm-hmm. So the 0.9, man, I still think he's going to catch him and pass him by the end of the season. What do you think?
Oh, Lane Hudson?
I think Celebrini will pass Lane Hudson.
In terms of just raw points.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the way that he's going right now, I think he does. I think he catches him. He's only a point behind, right? I mean,
1 point behind, 12 games left. How much does Montreal have left? Montreal's at 69 games, so they got an extra game.
But Montreal might make playoffs, then he'll get some playoff numbers as well. But I think Calder is done before playoff contention is even. It's only the first 82 games of the regular season, and that's it. My understanding, at least.
Sorry, what?
My understanding is Calder is awarded during the regular season. Playoffs have no bearing on Calder.
Correct, but they could sway a little bit of the voting, and we're going to see a lot of East Coast bias here, I think.
Fair enough.
So, also Dustin Wolf.
That's the other one, yeah.
Is the other one, but he's at 21 wins, so I don't think he'll get to 30. I think if he got to that 30 win mark, that would, I think, get him in the top consideration.
He had 21 wins, and correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say 14 or so losses, which puts him at what?
Look at it right
3
here.
out of 5 games. He wins 3 out of 5 games. This is good. Don't get me wrong. It's
23 and 14 with 5 overtime losses.
Okay, there you go.
911 save percentage, though. That's pretty good. And 263 goals against. That's for goaltending in this day and age. That's actually pretty decent, especially for a rookie. That's insane for a rookie. He is pulling Calgary into a playoff spot. So without him, I don't think Calgary would even be close. I mean, they're at the bubble right now. They're fighting St. Louis Blues for that last wild card spot. I don't think they're going to get there without him. Absolutely not.
Emmers just said to be fair, he's been a point behind for 2 months. So we'll see if he catches Hudson. Yes, he has been a point behind for 2 months. That is true. Sure. However, how many of those points, again, did Hudson just hand off to somebody who handed off to somebody else? Macklin's out there making it happen. And if you take a look, again, at the balance of points, right? The balance of points. Macklin's got 21 goals and 31 assists. That's a pretty good balance. That shows that I'm not just there to move the puck to somebody else and pray to God, right? That also shows he's a goal scorer, and he's out goal scoring the goal scorer.
Yes.
He's got a goal more than Matvei Michkov.
12 less games.
Yeah, in 12 less games.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, we could say what we want here, but again, for me, I think it's a two-headed race. I think it's Dustin Wolf and Macklin Celebrini.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
More than Lane Hudson.
I don't think Hudson. If I'm looking at the players, to me, there's a clear cut. To me, it's Mac. Sorry. If you're a Montreal fan or whatever, all right, cool. But and he says, I'm with you, Celebrini, so complete. 100%. So I think he brings everything to the game. He can score. He can pass.
He's Crosby. Crosby can do everything, right? He's the next iteration of Crosby.
He can score. He can pass. Mm-hmm. He can win faceoffs. He can play defense. He does it all. I mean, he does everything. Everything that you want this kid to do, he can do it. Mm-hmm. Even if you haven't seen him do it yet, like PK, he can do it. So I think he brings a much more complete game than anybody else. The fact that he's only a point behind, right? And the fact that he's got such a really good face-off percentage, to me, as far as the skaters are concerned, it's Macklin. So who's the only other guy that can challenge that? The guy whose stats you can't compare head-to-head, and that is Dustin Wolf, the goaltender, mm-hmm. right? So then you have to go, okay, is this amount of wins worth this amount of points, or is this save percentage worth this points per game and face-off percentage? then you have to try to do a little bit more jumping through hoops to match those two guys up, which, as Aaron has admitted, is one of the reasons we don't bother putting them up in the Calder watch, is because it's too hard to put them head to head and say, well, he's number one, he's number two, right? So, but yeah, to me, I think it's between those two, because as far as skaters is concerned, I don't think anybody is outshining Macklin. The goal scorer is not out goal scoring him. And the defenseman is not really doing it in terms of points when you look at points per game.
Yep.
And he just brings more. He just brings everything to the table. So from the skater's perspective, he's the guy.
That's my vote.
Okay. You got 2 votes, Mac, if you're listening.
We should move to the East Coast so we can...
Yeah, there you go. Let's do that. Why not? Just so you can win the Calder. Sweet. Anything else?
I have a question for you. This came up on Reddit, and I thought about this when I posted this on Reddit.
Okay.
Is there a chance the Sharks could win back-to-back Calder trophies, considering how many guys they're having next year join, Askarov being one of them, Dickinson possibly, Musty possibly, whoever they're drafting possibly first overall this draft, that they're not even on the Sharks yet, right? And maybe even back-to-back Calder trophies. Think about in 2 years, possibly even the guys that are getting drafted this upcoming draft could be the following year a Calder favorite.
I'm not even going to say possible. I'm going to say probable.
It's crazy, right?
I'm going to say it's probable because, again, Macklin should win it this season, okay? If Askarov gets full-time, right, and he's doing well enough, if the Sharks are a bubble team and he's a big part of that, yeah, absolutely he's in that conversation. Right? But then you've got the guys that, as we said, maybe the Barracuda is a bit of a parking lot for the prospects now because we just don't have the space. We're going to be getting guys from free agency as well. Like we said, we need to spend money, guys. You're not going to do it on ELCs. You got to spend money. So the guys that you're bringing in are going to help the Sharks out. That's why I think Askarov's numbers are, I've always said this before too, goalie numbers, the base ones, they're kind of like team numbers more than anything else, really. If the goalie's has a low goals against average and he's not seeing a whole lot of shots and they're doing a great job of blocking, they're doing a great job of demoralizing the other team, then yeah, you're probably going to have some better numbers.
It's better to look at those advanced stats for goalies of high danger save percentage and other things. So that's... there's better stats now than there used to be.
So you've already got a bunch of high talent kids on this team. Then you're going to be getting some free agents that have to cost you some money. They're going to be decent talent guys. They're going to come on board. So yeah, next season they might be a bubble team, and Askarov might be in the running for that. Again, that might mean that these guys like Musty, like Chernyshov, like Dickinson, right, might have to play in the AHL just because there's no space. And they're going to ripen in there. Next season, they get the opportunity to come over, right? You make a trade at the deadline, get somebody else out of there who doesn't fit your scheme anymore, and this guy comes in, right? Now you're talking about that guy having his draft +1 plus time in the Barracuda season in the NHL. And of course, yeah, he's probably going to be looking pretty good too. Why? Because he's going to be playing on a line with either Macklin or a guy that they picked up in free agency who's a good player, playing in front of a good goaltender, right? And in front of guys that are decent defenders now because they've had a couple years in the NHL. And we got a guy from free agency who's pretty solid too. So that rookie's probably going to have a decent season. So yeah, possible? Sure. Probable, I think, more than anything else.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And CJ just said we should hope for playoff berths instead of Calders. Obviously, but I'm just trying to think of the positives when the Sharks have been so bad this season.
Hey, why not? ¿Por qué no los dos? I think is how they said it in the...
Wow.
Yeah, how about that, huh?
Look at you.
I know. I'm bilingual.
Get on with it.
Get on with it.
Get on with it.
Get on with it.
Yes, get on with it.
¿Dónde está la biblioteca, señor?
Get on with it.
Señor Dumbo. Okay, anyway. Off the rails. We haven't gotten off the rails in a while, and I'm happy to be back to get off the rails. Hey, knock it off. Okay. What even were we talking about?
Back-to-back Calders.
Back-to-back Calders. Again, probable. I think back-to-back-to-back is even probable.
It's crazy. It also depends on the rest of the league and however many rookies are coming in on other teams and how good or strong they are, right? Yes. Versus the rookies that the Sharks are going to be having. Right. So who knows? I don't really know. Like next season, there's not really a consensus first overall pick still. Not like there was Celebrini. Not like there was Bedard. There's not that kind of player in this draft. So I don't think next year's top pick is going to be someone that's going to be in the Calder running next season.
Right.
So it could be a weaker Calder race next year.
Right. But they could get time and then come up in the next season, right? So
Askarov could be next season. Maybe Dickinson is not quite ready.
Yeah.
And they want him to fully mature in the AHL next season. And he plays in the AHL mostly next year and then comes up the following year and destroys it. So,
or Musty or Chernyshov.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot put it this way. It might not even just be back to back to back in terms of Calder considerations, but you might have multiple guys on a year or two from the Sharks that would have Calder consideration. Look, if Will Smith was doing a little bit more offensively, I think he'd be in that conversation too, right? So, I mean, even this season, you could have had maybe two guys from the same team. Not going to happen now. It's way too far gone. But I think in future years to come, yeah, absolutely, you could have a couple guys that are going to be in that conversation for the Calder Trophy, Calder Cup.
Denver just said Demidov is coming in. I think that's next season for
that's
Montreal.
true. Yeah.
Is that who it was?
Yeah.
So that's probably the strongest candidate going into next season. So that would be the same thing, kind of Wolf, if Askarov is playing full year, Wolf versus Celebrini.
But again, are we talking about just slam dunk wins, or are we talking about in the conversation? If you've got guys that are rookies year after year after year that are in the conversation, that bodes well for your franchise.
Yeah. CJ just asked if you guys had any talks about doing a live draft night or a lottery night. We did that last season. We did both. We did the lottery and the draft.
Yeah.
I think we'll definitely do the draft. I don't know if we'll do the lottery. Maybe we'll do the lottery since they're going to be in the lottery. So we could decide to do that. Yeah, it was fun to do that with people. We did that last year at Ancora Vino in downtown San Jose for both, wasn't it? Oh, no. The draft, we were in the arena.
Draft was at the arena.
Yeah, the draft, we get to go in the arena. Obviously, we're going to try and do that again. They do a draft party at the arena where the Sharks host it, and we were very fortunate that they let us use one of the boxes that was there so that we could do our show in there. So I'm assuming, maybe I should assume. I'm going to say we're going to try and do the same thing. I don't know if we can get it yet. We haven't really talked with them yet about it, so but look forward to that. If you are going to the draft party, assuming there is a draft party, look for us there. We should be there.
Okay. Should we move on and do upcoming games? We got... Whoa. What was that? Holy.
Guys, get on with it.
We are.
With that, that's what I was about to do. Upcoming games. We have 3, Aaron. Thursday against Toronto Maple Leafs. That's always a fun one.
Yes.
Right?
Always a lot of Maple Leafs fans in the stands. A lot of them have moved out here, or their grandpappy was a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and they just happen to be out here.
Saturday against the New York Rangers. Wenberg played for the Rangers, correct?
Did he?
At one point,
Winnipeg.
I thought at one point he played for the Rangers. I could be wrong, maybe not. Anyway, Aaron's gonna look that up. Sunday against the LA Kings. Not quite the rivalry it used to be, but always nice to be able to chant "Beat LA."
He did play for the Rangers. You're right.
He did.
Columbus, Florida, Seattle, Rangers, Sharks.
I don't know why I knew that. That doesn't seem like it's something that I would know. Yeah. But yes,
I'm shocked that you knew that.
I'm actually shocked too. Sitting here in shock. So, okay, those 3 games, again, not until Thursday is the first game. It's kind of atypical, right?
Another big break. That's 2 weeks in a row. I mean, the Sharks did play almost the most NHL games up until last week. They had so many games on their schedule, and then they kind of finally get a break. So, it's kind of odd. I wish they would do that a little bit better and give the breaks earlier in the season rather than at the end. I mean, I guess it's nice if you're in a playoff spot to get that break. Kind of rest up a little bit, but obviously the Sharks are not there.
So we're underperforming compared to what the NHL thought when they made the schedule, is what you're saying.
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, the chosen one, Macklin Celebrini, he should be, right?
Absolutely.
Anyway, CJ going out on a limb here saying 3-0-0 on the week. He's saying 3 wins.
Also, Brightcar, my wife is back temporarily in California, and her birthday is Thursday, so likely going to the Leafs game. That's cool.
There you go.
He lives in Ontario, so that's a big, long ways away.
Very good.
But yeah, the LA Kings game on ESPN, national TV. No Drew and Randy, unfortunately. So if you'd like to listen, you can sync up. In fact, Dan does this all the time, Ruzanowski, on the radio.
Yeah.
There's a way you can sync up the radio with him, and I think he tells you on Twitter, he says, to sync up the audio, like start it whatever, and you can follow
At this
follow
point
his
in the
directions.
stream,
Yeah,
yeah.
follow his directions. So if you want to listen to Dan and not the ESPN people, feel free to do that.
Nice. There you go. Okay, what do you think is going to happen on the week here? Again, Toronto, New York Rangers, LA Kings. Toronto still got a lot of star power.
Yes.
What do you think about that one?
I think they have a better chance against the Rangers, but I wouldn't rule out a good game against Toronto because they're going to want to get a lot of those guys are from the Toronto area and have a lot of family and friends and stuff. I mean, it is at home. It's here in San Jose, but I think they get up for those games, especially when before and after the game, the media scrums are crazy. So it's a very different feel than a normal home game, and I think the Sharks this season tend to play up against better teams, play better against better teams.
I know Jack Thompson scored for the Barracuda tonight. We talked to him. He's from Toronto area. It'd be cool if they called him up for this game. And they got time, too, because, again, Thursday and down the hall. So it shouldn't be too hard if he warrants getting that spot on the team. I don't know who you'd have to sit to do that. Maybe Luka goes and gets a little bit of time back with the Barracuda after having been called up. Or
I feel like after a win, they keep it as is.
Yeah.
It'll probably be the exact same lineup that they had against Boston because they won.
Yeah.
If they didn't win, then they would change it up.
Rangers, you said you like the Sharks' chances against the Rangers. Pretty good game there.
Rangers just look a little weaker than they have recently this season, so I think that they could put the dagger in their hopeful chances to make playoffs. I think I was looking at the standings here. The Rangers are that bubble team. They're trying to beat Montreal, actually, on that last wild card spot. So they're going to be a desperate team trying to get those points, but I think the Sharks could have a good chance here.
Was Georgiev originally a Ranger, too?
Yes, he was the backup to Shesterkin for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the LA Kings. You said ESPN game. Obviously, we're not going to be hearing Randy and Drew on that one. But in terms of where the Kings sit right now in the standings, comparatively, obviously, to the Sharks, they're higher. But where do you think they are in terms of like power? Do you think this is a team that the Sharks can maybe overthrow a little bit here?
I think this late in the season, the Kings are playing playoff hockey, and I think they're going to it'll be like similar to the Carolina game. Just dominate physically. They get down low. They kind of like how the Sharks used to be 15 years ago, where they would get that cycle going and just, tire out the other team. I think that's what we're going to see, a lot of that, and more of a boring, low-scoring game.
So you're looking at like a 1-win, 2-loss on the week then?
I'd say we'll get one win, I think, against the Rangers, and then probably lose to Toronto. I think a close game at Toronto, but the Kings game, I think, will just be, plus it's a back-to-back, right?
Yeah.
So they're playing the day after the Rangers. So I would say they're going to lose against the Kings.
I'm saying we're taking Toronto, we're taking the Rangers. I'm feeling it.
Wow.
Just every once in a while.
So a 3-game win streak. Now, we posed this question earlier. Do you think the Sharks get to 20 wins? They are now at 19.
Yeah, they have to get to 20 wins. Come on.
So they got 12 games left.
Oh, of course.
They got to win one of those, right?
Of course. Come on.
Maybe this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely this week. Not only will they get it this week, they'll jump past it this week. I'm saying it. I'm getting 21 wins at the end of the week. Feeling it. Good?
Good.
All right, then. Anything else to say for the Sharks on the show before we wrap it up?
Not the Sharks, but fantasy hockey.
Oh, okay.
Our playoffs start this week on Monday. So good luck to everyone that is not playing me.
I also want to say good luck to my son's 12U hockey team, the Tri-Valley Bulls. It should have been called the Tri-Valley Bulls, but politics. Anyway, really the Tri-Valley Blue Devils. They are going to their state playoffs against the Stockton Colts, and then 2 teams from LA, California Wave, and I think Ontario Reign, Junior Reign. So that is a 12U game. And I wish them all the best of luck. Love you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys work really hard, and you deserve everything. So there you go. Any last comments here?
Yeah, CJ just said Dan's an underrated legend. Have you guys thought about interviewing him? We have interviewed him, actually. So you can go back and look at our interviews.
And he thought we were somebody else at first.
Yeah, he thought we were the...
He's
talking about Dan Ruzanowski.
Oh,
Dan
Ruzanowski
was on our show.
My bad. I think you said Boyle, because you said legend, so
No.
okay.
Well, either one.
Yeah,
Dan
both
Boyle
legends,
and Dan Ruzanowski have been on our show. But yes, you can go back and look at that.
Ruzanowski was fun because we played fun games with him.
We did a lot of... he's so good at pronouncing
yes,
not just every name, but especially Russian names.
Yes.
I think he's very... very good speaker, and just seeing how his mind works.
Imagine that he speaks so well.
Right, yeah. I think he's doing definitely his calling. But we did a word association with him kind of thing, or a name thing. I can't even remember what it was.
Where we gave a name and we tried to pronounce it, got it completely wrong, and then he pronounced it the right way.
Yes.
And then he explained which region of Russia it was from or something. Guy's a walking encyclopedia.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic one. If you didn't see that, definitely go check it out. Okay. I think that's it, Aaron. Guys, again, it was great being back here. I'm not 100%. I'm glad I was able to make it through with my tea here for you guys. You might have heard me
day to day.
Turn the mic off and coughing a little. Yes, day to day. Knock it off. That's a week. Now I'm week to week. Now I'm week to week.
Day to day, not day or night.
Well played. See, now I got me coughing. Anyway, okay, guys. Again, I appreciate you, struggling through listening to me talking with some of this stuff going on. But it's always fun to see you guys in the chat. Again, thank you for doing that. The best way, obviously, to support the show is to get us out there to your Sharks friends and family. Get them in the chat and get them going. Yes, I pronounced it Katergatier. There you go. So you get them in the chat, get them going. It's always a lot more fun. We have everybody flowing in here, so appreciate that. I think Super Producer Jason already put all the stuff on the screen, but I'm just going to say it real quick. If you'd like to support the show, you can do that with Super Chat. You can do that with Venmo at The Fin Factor. You can go to thefinfactor.com. Check out any of the merch that we have available for sale there. You can also just, again, share us out to everybody. That goes a really long way, and we do appreciate that just as much as if you were to buy a hat, a shirt, or a hoodie, or whatever else. So thank you guys. You guys rock. Looking forward to the last little bit of the season here.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, any last thing to say to the people?
Oh, let's go.
He just said no, let's go. Okay. Guys, for Super Producer Jason, I'm Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
And we will see you guys
next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, check out our other content, especially interviews. You can interact with us directly through social media at The Fin Factor and on Instagram at Fin Factor. And don't forget to join our live streams on YouTube.
Visit our website at thefinfactor.com, where you'll find all of our episodes as videos or podcasts.